Okay, so now we're going to talk about exponential decay. Okay, this is still Unit 6, but in the new packet, it says Section 8.6, because in our school's textbook it's 8.6, but it's the 6th unit that we're working on. All right, so we talked before about how if it's exponential, it's growing. 0, 1, 2, 3, and I start with 5, and I have my 15, my 45, and my 135. So here, this is growing by multiplying by 3 each time. So this is exponential growth. Okay, well, what if instead of multiplying each time, I were dividing each time? So let's say I flip this around. I feel like I did something wrong here. 5 times 3 is 15. Carry the 1. 3 times 12. Yeah, that's right. Okay. 1, 45, 2, 15, 3, 5. So now let's say instead of multiplying, I'm dividing each time. Okay. All right, so now it's going down instead of going up. This is called exponential decay. The way I like to remember why it's called decay, if you think about old log rotting and decaying, it actually decays at an exponential rate. You start with a little bit and then it spreads and spreads and spreads. And so just that picture of things rotting, decaying, going down, becoming less, the log gets smaller. That's what makes it work for me, but you could probably think of a different way to think of it. So when we write this, we have to write our function. So if we have y equals a times b to the x, this is our exponential function. Okay, I have my initial amount, but this is multiplication and this is division, so I can't just put a 3 in there. So what I need to do is think about, in terms of this relationship, the opposite of multiplying is dividing. And so, sorry. So instead of writing this as divided by 3, I'm going to write this as multiplying by 1/3. Because here I have that division in the form of a fraction instead of in this operation here. So times 1/3 to the x power. One of the types of questions they'll often ask you on tests and like standardized tests is, hey, tell if something is growth or decay. So if we have y equals 3 times 2 to the x, that's growth. Because when we multiply by 2, it's going to get bigger. If we have y equals 3 times 1/2 to the x, that is decay, because we're multiplying by half each time, so it's going to get smaller and smaller. If we have y equals 3 times 3/2 to the x, even though this is written as a fraction, this is more than 1. And so it's still going to get bigger and bigger. This is growth. If we have y equals 3 times 0.7 to the x, this is less than 1. So it's going to get smaller and smaller. So this is decay. So the general rule is that if B is greater than 1, it's growth. And if B is between 0 and 1, so it's a fraction in that space between 0 and 1, or a decimal in that space between 0 and 1, it's going to be decay.